I am Tom Gayler and I am presenting this paper, Sensory Probes, an Exploratory Design Research Method for Human Food Interaction, on behalf of myself and my co-authors Corina and Vaiva Kalnikaitė. Designing interactions with foods holds potential for rich multisensory experiences. Unlocking this potential requires users to be able to recognise and articulate the sensory, social and cultural aspects of their own food experience. This paper reports on a novel method to help unlock this potential. Sensory probes aim to sensitize participants towards their own food experiences. The iterative design and development of the probes are reported, including use as part of 2 case studies into personalized flavor design. The following research questions guided this work. Firstly, we considered how to co-create these tools to support personalized flavor designs. Secondly, we explored what roles and affordances sensory probes have. Finally, we asked how sensory probes could support food-based and wider multisensory design. The sensory probes were developed through an iterative process, starting with probe design workshops with 8 participants, 5 designers and 3 HCI researchers. From these workshops, the first version of the sensory probes were designed and produced. These were used and evaluated in a food emotion study, and an iterated version was used in a following study on food and memory. We're firstly going to look at these probe design workshops. The design of probes started with 2 workshops with HCI researchers and designers. The workshop started with an introduction to the aim of sensory probes. Then participants discussed their experiences of taste and flavour, and how they could sensitize people using the probes towards them. The discussion moved on to food and the body, and then food and the senses, again with participants reflecting on their own personal experiences. Finally, we turned to food, emotion and cognition, and to food and its material considerations, thinking about how food might be packaged within these probes. The workshop finished with sketching ideas for probes based on the discussions across each section, with sharing and collaboration from this. The sketches that were developed informed the design of the first iteration of the probes, and that is what I'm going to take you through now. There are 6 artifacts: a Taste Who gameboard, pairing flavour descriptors with bespoke evocative images; an eye mask, nose clip, earplugs and gloves for sensory augmentation, exploring multisensory experience; a body mapping booklet, which was used to explore internal bodily experience over time; a camera and sound recorder to support the capturing of environmental contextual information; letters with prompts for writing meaningful recipes, exploring meaning in food experiences; and a food emotion diary, which explored emotional food experiences. All of these items were packed in a white card box and layered with tissue paper to draw on cues from gifting and to drive engagement with the probes. The aim of the Taste Who gameboard probe is to familiarise and sensitise participants to flavour terms, prompting them to explore the matching of foods with their feelings or memories. Participants selected 5 foods to eat and then matched each one to the relevant descriptors on the board, playing with a partner as a game or playing on their own to simply explore and reflect on the terms relevant to the flavour experience they're having. The aim of the sensory augmentation probes was to increase awareness to the role of different sensory systems in the experience of flavour, and particularly the multisensory experience of flavour. Included in the probes were gloves, eye mask, nose clip and earplugs, which were used independently whilst eating an everyday meal to observe the difference sensory augmentation had on the experience of the food and the flavour. The aim of the body mapping probe was to increase internal or interoceptive perception related to the experience of digestion and metabolization. Participants were given a booklet and instructions to record their feelings at 3 moments in time: immediately after eating a meal, 30 minutes after, and 2 hours after. At each time interval, they wrote or drew sensations in relation to a different internal space: the mouth, the gut, the heart and circulatory system, or the brain and nervous system, observing changes over time across these 4 different systems. The aim of the environmental context probe was to gather insights into and direct attention towards the environments where eating takes place. Participants were instructed to collect audio recordings and take photos of where they made the food and where they consumed the food, showing the food in each of these contexts. 2 probes involved the writing of recipes as letters. They aim to support participants to label and associate foods and foodstuffs with different meanings in relation to specific memories or emotions. In the emotion study, participants wrote recipes as love letters to their partner, and then cooked that meal for each other. The second recipe as a letter probe in the emotion study involved writing a recipe for heartbreak. Participants then made this recipe and burnt it, acting as a form of catharsis for them, both embodying these recipes in different ways. In the memory study, participants wrote the recipes for memories, one memory about food and one general memory that was not about food. The final probe was used only in the emotion study. For 2 weeks, participants photographed everything they ate, who made the food, who they ate it with, and their mood at the time on a bespoke web form where date and time were automatically recorded. They used an app on their phone to create, we used an app on their phone to create an easy way to capture this data, and then use visualizations to reflect on it and the connections between foods and emotions at later co-design stage. So I now turn to our findings from deploying these probes within 2 studies, one on food and emotion, working with couples who were in romantic relationships, and one a study on food and memory, working with older adults exploring their own significant personal memories. So participants found the probes overall to be engaging and enjoyable to complete. They reported how specific probes helped surface different aspects of their bodily and sensory experience of food. They also detailed how the probes supported them to build skills in thinking about the meaning of food and how it could be used in the design of interactions. More detail on the findings around each specific probe and the role it played can be found in the paper. The probes in general have previously been identified as allowing the capture of fragments of participants' experience. These sensory probes afforded for the capture of sensory fragments, which help bring awareness to a participant's sensory experience, both for themselves and for the designer that they were co-designing with. These probes also engaged in interoception, prompting consideration of internal experiences over time. However, tasks that focus on this proved challenging for users, and future work could further explore how this might be possible to sensitize and improve the experience for participants. Through the engaging of a wide set of sensory pathways around food experience in the probes, we propose a move towards flavour design worlds. This concept draws on the idea of taste worlds, which describe the varied personal experience of the same taste between different people. Flavour design worlds extend this to think about the personal perceptual space of an individual as a space for design. A space for design that is made accessible for co-design to both the participant and the designer through the use of the sensory probes. The probes we presented employed various methods, drawing on previous embodied approaches to help uncover novel perspectives on food experiences. Firstly, the probes augmented bodily sensation through the use of masks, earplugs, gloves, and nose clips, to allow the participant to viscerally understand the role of each sense in how they experience flavour. Secondly, probes brought awareness to food experience through prompting enactment of novel actions, and these helped expose the cultural or social significance embedded in food. And an example of this is the recipes as letters. Finally, the probes each sought to recontextualise the participants' experience with food, estranging them just enough to allow them to see their own experience in a new way and offer new perspectives on it. This paper has reported on sensory probes, a novel design research method which has been designed and evaluated through a co-design workshop and 2 user studies. I would like to thank you for your attention and would welcome any further discussion or questions via email.